So today we're going to start a video series on Juneteenth. And the reason why is because, honestly, I was just curious about it. I mean, it's a recent creation of a holiday. It officially became a holiday in 2021. So compared to all the other major holidays, it's pretty new. But even though Juneteenth, the holiday, was created in 2021, that doesn't mean that there aren't major historical events that happened on June 18th before 2021. And that's what I kind of want to explore. So I'm going to be working on my crochet sleeve. So my progress so far with it is getting towards the end of it, but still got quite a bit of work to do. So I'm going to do that while I tell you about these cool historical events. So our very first event is going to start in the year 1301, which is 700 years ago. Fun fact. So, on June 19th, 1301, far across the ocean in Kamakura, Japan, a baby boy named Prince Morikuni. So instead of him being what we call double trouble, Prince Morikura was double royal. So both of his parents were from different families of royalty. So his father, Hishaaki, was the 8th shogun, and his mother was Princess Koreyasu. So Prince Morikuni was destined to become the 9th and final shogun of the Kamakura shogunate. Hopefully I'm saying all these right. I tried looking up the pronunciation, but I don't know, it just feels like I'm saying it wrong. So it's fascinating to look at his world because even though he came from two royal families, like different royal families, his rule was actually considered a puppet rule. So if you're not familiar with that, what that basically means is that they were placed into power and they are controlled by other groups or singular people who actually have the power, but they put these princes and establishments into power to make the people happy, basically. So even though he is double royal, he still didn't actually have enough power to actually become his own powerful ruler. He was just more of a puppet. Okay, so we're going to move to the year 1306. And we're going to go from Japan to Scotland. So the newly crowned King of Scots, Robert the Bruce, I think that was supposed to be Robert the Brave. Yeah, I think I meant to say Robert the Brave on that one. Anyways, he faced a disastrous turning point at the Battle of Methven. Believing the English army would honor the traditional rules of war, which is a terrible assumption. Why would you assume that your enemy is going to fight fair? But I digress. So they thought that they were going to honor the traditional rules of war and wait until the morning to fight. However, that didn't happen. Bruce's 5,000 men let their guard down and made camp. But as you can expect, the English forces launched a brutal surprise night ambush. This was kind of a historical moment where you literally had to sleep with one eye open, just like the famous Metallica line, sleep with one eye open, gripping a pillow tight. Anyways. So in the absolute chaos of the dark hand-to-hand combat, Bruce managed to hastily form his remaining men into a defensive flank to break free from the trap. While the king successfully escaped with his life into the highlands, the retreat was devastating. This catastrophic defeat left hundreds of his loyal men dead on the field or captured, only for them to be executed shortly after. So, yeah. Rule of thumb, never assume that your enemies are going to fight fair. Okay. Moving on to the next event, 1312. Okay, so we are going to talk about one of the most volatile political scandals in medieval English history. Piers Gaveston, who is the first Earl of Cornwall. Okay, I have to explain why I'm laughing. So the name Earl gets me every time because I have a cat named Earl. And so when I think of Earl, I think of my sweet little cat and his big eyes. But anyways, the first Earl of Cornwall was executed at Blacklow Hill at just 28 years old. Gaveston was an arrogant, fiercely envied favorite and secret lover. Basically, he was rumored to be gay, of King Edward II. His immense monopoly of royal power completely enraged the traditional English nobility. Seeking to crush his influence permanently, a group of powerful barons hunted him down. The 10th Earl of Warwick, Guy Dun Beauchamp, ambushed Gaveston and took him hostage and threw him deep into the dungeon at Warwick Castle. After a sham of a trial, Gaveston was led out of his cell on the morning of June 19th and marched until Blacklow Hill. There he was brutally run through with a sword and beheaded, leaving King Edward completely humiliated and grief-stricken. So this just proves that it doesn't always pay to be the favorite. So be careful butt kissing. Might come back to hurt you. I'm going to take a drink. I got a bad cough. I'm not sick. The weather just keeps going from rain to dry to 60 to over 100 with humidity. And my poor body is just struggling to keep up. So, one moment. Okay. Oh, something also interesting that I learned while researching all this. So when it talks about, like, this guy was a first Earl and this one was a 10th Earl. So basically, you would get the position of being an Earl by high favor in court and also by wealth. And then if you were wealthy, you would pass it on from generation to generation. So in this particular event, it's kind of interesting that the favorite isn't the 10th Earl, because the 10th Earl has been an Earl, which means he's been in a rich family that's been highly influential and good to the king for 10 generations, which could explain why he was so mad that the king was choosing someone that was a newbie into the wealth world. So we're going to jump to 2 years, so 1314. So after King Edward II lost his favorite to the executioner's sword, he embarked on a battle where he tried to salvage his reputation by launching a massive invasion of Scotland. So the English forces were marching heavily toward Edinburgh, Scotland, aiming to break Robert the Bruce's siege on Stirling Castle. Edward II spent the day waiting anxiously for a staggering baggage train of 200 supply wagons to catch up. Meanwhile, English supply ships docked safely at the port of Leith, unloading crucial stores of feed and rearmed the massive army. After a brief period of rest, the exhausted English soldiers faced a punishing, relentless 35-mile march to reach the castle gates. Edward acted as though victory was completely guaranteed, entirely unaware that this exhausting journey was marching his men directly into the catastrophic bloodbath of the Battle of Bannockburn. So, I've never marched for 35 miles, but I did run cross country where we ran 5Ks, and I also ran the 2-mile in high school. And on our long days, we would run 6 miles. So I can understand being exhausted, having to go 35 miles on, and mind you, these aren't just like a casual stroll in the park. Oh, we're wearing shorts. Like, they were in full military gear. They had provisions, their ammunitions, So we're going to go from Scotland to France to the year 1320, where a completely different kind of crisis was unfolding. Pope John the 22nd issued a fierce, urgent command to halt and disperse a rogue peasant uprising known as the Shepherd's Crusade. What had started out as an unauthorized, zealous movement of young peasants claiming to fight for the faith had rapidly spiraled into an absolute lawlessness. Tens of thousands of these emotional, untrained marchers had swarmed across France, destroying property and attacking local communities. Tongue twister. Watching this historical crowd swell reminds me a lot of how modern decentralized protest and political unrest can instantly spark and spread globally before the authorities even recognize what is happening. I'm sure we can all think of recent protests or demonstrations where, they start off kind of small with a certain goal and then they kind of just get out of control. That's not a new concept. They were dealing with that all the way back in 1320. So as the peasants marched toward the papal court in Avignon, I think is how you say it, Pope John the 22nd grew deeply unnerved by the sheer scale of the mob. You might hear one of my cats just... So if you're wondering what that, sound is, that's my cat. I think he sees a deer outside, and he desperately thinks that he's hunting them, so just let him do his thing. But anyways, so Pope John the 22nd gets kind of nervous because he thinks that there's going to be a total collapse of local law and order under the guise of a holy war. So the Pope actually refuses to back their unsanctioned crusade. Instead of blessing them, he ordered his forces to scatter the crowds, drawing a hard line against the religious fanaticism that threatened the stability of Europe. So I find this really interesting that that even the Pope was concerned of, hey, these people are like too religiously zealous to the point that like this is detrimental. And that's just something that like, you don't really hear that much about. So that's why I find it very interesting. So we're going to move from France to Germany, and we're going to jump to the year 1323 to look at a powerful matriarch caught in the crosshairs of the Holy Roman Empire. Bechtild of Nassau dies in Heidelberg, located in the Electorate Palatine, which is present-day Germany. Okay, she was the daughter of Adolf, not Hitler, Adolf, King of the Romans, and through her marriage, she became the Duchess of Bavaria and Countess Palpatine. No, not the Star Wars one. Different. Her life was defined by intense family warfare. Her brother-in-law, Louis IV, seized her lands by force of arms and even held her under house arrest to break her spirits. She was building a legacy piece by piece, just like I am crocheting this sleeve piece by piece. Despite the political cage she was locked in, she fiercely protected the birthrights of her children. It's incredibly ironic that while she died in captivity on June 19th, which the holiday is known as Emancipation Day or Freedom Day, so it's kind of ironic that she died in captivity on Freedom Day. Oh, hi Wednesday. Did you come to say hello? Okay. Okay, hold on. Miss Wednesday has decided that she wants to cuddle with us, so. Anyways, her sacrifice paved the way for peace. Just after her passing, her sons finally secured their inheritance. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sneeze on you. Sorry, her cat and hair went up my nose. And she basically ensured that her legacy survived. Okay, we're gonna move from Germany to Japan to the year 1333, which, by the way, love all the threes, to witness an astonishing act of military betrayal that completely reshaped the nation's history. So, Samurai General Ashikaga Takahuji, I think is how you say his name. Hopefully I got that right. Officially led his triumph army into the imperial capital of Koitoi. Originally, the ruling Kamakura shogun had sent him to ruthlessly crush a rebellion led by the exiled emperor Go-Daego. Okay, sorry. Focus brain. However, he became deeply disillusioned with his masters, made a shocking, calculated choice to switch sides. He turned his weapons against the shogunate's own local headquarters, capturing the city in the name of the emperor. This massive military pivot set the stage for the Kemmu Restoration, which briefly returning absolute civilian rule to the imperial house. It is ultimate historical irony that on June 19th, Takaju marched into Kyoto as the emperor's greatest hero, because just 3 years later, he would betray the emperor yet again to seize supreme power and name himself shogun. Unlike him, I'm trying to stay completely loyal to this current crochet pattern, even though I switched for a cat, because cats are way better. Okay, so we're going to jump across the European continent to Italy in the year 1341 for a story of sheer grit and devotion. A deeply revered woman named Giuliana Falconieri passed away in the Republic of Florence at the age of 71. She was a founding leader of the Servant Nuns, a group of women dedicated to taking care of the sick, poor, and the forgotten. As she aged, she developed a brutal, debilitating medical condition that caused excessive, violent vomiting. This stomach illness became so extreme that it left her completely unable to swallow any solid food, preventing her from taking her Holy Communion, which was a very big deal to her because, she's a nun. It was said that on the morning of June 19th, knowing her end was near, she requested that the communion wafer simply be placed over her heart. According to Catholic history, the wafer mysteriously vanished from her chest the moment she passed. And that particular moment sealed her into becoming a saint, because it was seen as a miracle. Okay, so we're going to jump to 1364. And by the way, you're going to notice that there's going to be quite a bit of jumps. It's not that I didn't do any research, but what happened was a lot of historical events happened on the 18th or the 21st. So while there was a lot of history going on, history happening on June 19th, not so much. So if you see jumps more than 5 years, that's why. But anyways, 1364, we're in Barcelona, Spain. Queen Lucinda of Moncada passes away in the monastery of Puerto at the age of 72. She was one of medieval Europe's most influential rulers, spending nearly 4 decades managing massive political power completely independent. She's more known for the mystery surrounding her tomb, however. So, since she died in a monastery and was buried in a monastery, you would assume that the monastery would have either priests or nuns. However, her tomb showed just completely different things. Okay, so her tomb was a 2-sided marble. On the side facing the public church, her effigy is sculpted as a stunning young queen in full royal dress. On the other side is facing the cloister nuns. She is sculpted as a humble, grieving widow in a simple habit. So, when modern archaeologists cracked open her 700-year-old burial site recently, and the 7 surrounding tombs, so all in the monastery graveyard, they uncovered a mass medieval cold case, because instead of there being holy nuns, the nearby graves contained 25 chaotic skeletons, including partially mummified pregnant women, which they're supposed to be nuns, so that's problematic. An official knight's tomb that was labeled as an official knight's tomb, only for it to contain only women and children. And then there were multiple tombs that had multiple male skulls that had brutal, unexplained stab wounds, meaning that they had been murdered. I know, Miss Wednesday, it's terrible. Okay, 1369. Okay, raise your hands. How many of you out there have had a crazy, or currently have a crazy mother-in-law? So usually we hear stories about them trying to get in the way of the wedding. But on June 19th, 1369, we have a story about a mother-in-law who went to the extreme lengths to ensure a wedding happened. Sorry, Wednesday. Ugh. I'm so sorry. Sweet baby. Sorry for y'all's ears. My bad, I didn't know what was coming. But anyways, for this wedding to happen in Ghent, Flanders. Now, if you're like me and you're geographically challenged, you won't find Flanders on a map because it is modern day known as the country of Belgium. So keep that in mind. So this strategic political marriage instantly united the massive wealth of the Flanders with the Burgundy, creating a powerhouse territory richer than the French crown itself. The wedding almost didn't happen because Margaret's father stubbornly insisted on marrying her off to an English prince instead. This made her mother, Margaret of Artois. Yeah, I know it's confusing, but the daughter and the mom have the same first name. So, mom is absolutely furious because she hates the English. So, during the massive dinner party of knights to celebrate the union coming together, she becomes so enraged that she tore open her dress and screamed to the entire room that if the wedding didn't take place between her daughter and the French, that she would cut off her own breast and throw it to the dogs. Terrified and completely humiliated, Margaret's father immediately called off the English alliance, which gives us the ultimate crazy mother-in-law victory. So we're going to jump forward to the year 1417 in Brescia, Italy. A baby boy, Sigismondo Pandolfo Malatesta, is born. Now, right from his very first breath, his life is surrounded by massive family gossip because he was born as an illegitimate son, meaning that his parents were not married when he was born. Now today, this isn't really that big of a deal, but back then, that was like a big no-no. Like, that intentionally means that he could not inherit his father's, lands or money because they had to be the firstborn son, but they had to be the firstborn recognized son. And the church at this time, who recognized all the babies, only recognized parents who were married. Nothing out of the marriage. So, his parents were a powerful nobleman named Pandolfo Malatesta II, and his mother's name was Antonia de Barinarni. So because his parents weren't officially married, he wasn't technically supposed to inherit any wealth or titles, like I said before, but Sigismondo didn't care about the rules. So he grew up to be so fiercely smart, ruthless, and talented on the battlefield that he took over his family's territory anyway, became a legendary military commander, and went on to rule the city of Rimini. He is known by his nickname of the Wolf of Rimini. And by the way, when he says the Wolf of, it's not talking about Wall Street. Who needs Wednesday? Sorry, I got distracted from a cute cat. Because he was called this because he spent his whole life picking huge fights with the Catholic Church. Because, like I said before, Catholic Church didn't recognize illegitimate children. And that led to some of the most insane royal and religious scandals of the 1400s. Okay. 1475. After 55 years of history, taking a total summer nap on... Okay, so remember I said that there would be a jump between dates? Yeah, this is where the jump happens. Because the last event happened in 1417, the next one didn't happen until 1475. So, after 55 entire years of history taking a total summer nap on June 19th, by only having events that happened on the 18th or the 21st, our timeline finally wakes back up in 1475. We're jumping straight into some massive Renaissance royal travel drama. Because who doesn't like good drama? Queen consort of Denmark Dorothea officially arrived in Rome for a high-profile royal visit. Queen Dorothea didn't just go to Rome to see the sights. She was on a strict political mission for her husband, King Christian I. She went straight to the Vatican to meet with Pope Sixtus IV. She used her royal charm and political influence to get the Pope to issue a highly coveted papal bull. So that's an official holy golden ticket, and that allowed Denmark to build its very first university, which is the University of Copenhagen, and it changed education in Northern Europe forever. Now, for a quick bit of fun history, the Pope Sixtus IV is the exact same Pope who built the world famous Sistine Chapel in Rome. In fact, the chapel is literally named after him. So while he was busy building one of the most famous buildings in human history, he took a quick break on this summer day to sign the birth certificate for Denmark's college system. Okay, so I'm going to try something a little different and only cover like 13-14 events per video, so that way they're just not so long. So we're going to stop here. So don't want to miss part 2, because we're going to be talking about rough wooing. But I'm going to say bye. Miss Wednesday, do you want to say bye? Bye! So if you want to say hi or bye to Miss Wednesday, you can drop a little hand waving emoji, and I'll let her know that you said hi or bye. But anyways, take care, and hope to see you in part 2.